Okay, how many here are expecting to open up presents tomorrow? Hand up. How many here know what you're getting? You do know. Good for you. What are you getting? Socks. Well, it would be that or a tie, I guess. Anybody else know what they're getting? I think the best presents are the ones you're not expecting. When you get something that surprises you, or something that you kind of wanted and you got it and you didn't think you were going to get it. I think those are the best kind. What is the gift that we get here tonight? So we come here to this service, we celebrate what? And what is the gift we're given? This is a gift that doesn't cost anything, it doesn't cost money. It's a gift that you can keep on giving. It's one you can re-gift. In fact, they want you to re-gift it. It's a gift that is always the right color and always the right size. You don't have to take it back on Boxing Day. What's the gift? Wow. Pardon? All love? Who brings that love? Who brought it?
It's the birth of Jesus.
Yes, thank you. The answer is always Jesus when you're in church. It's always Jesus. What I'm afraid of, what I want you to do tomorrow is I want you to open up your gifts, see who it is that gave it to you, thank them, and then put it up on a shelf and don't look at it again until next year. Can you do that? Is that what gifts are for? I don't think so. They weren't too pleased about that for other service either. Well, what I'm afraid of, and what I told the people earlier, what I'm afraid of is that the gift of the Christ child, when you leave here, you might just put the Christ child on the shelf and never think about him again until next Christmas. And I don't want you to do that. I don't want you to do that. Because the gift of the Christ child is invaluable. And some of the things that that child brought to the world were the four things that those candles represented. Someone already said one, which is love. Anybody remember the others? Peace, hope, joy. Joy is the pink candle. So, God sent his son, however that happened, who was born, we're told, in Bethlehem, in a stable. And the Christ child came to bring those four gifts. And what's interesting about it was that the first people that heard about this birth through the angel were the shepherds. And what's interesting about that is that shepherds, they were kind of the low end of the coal, boy. They were actually thought of as thieves and robbers. People didn't really like shepherds. They didn't trust them. And yet, God announced to them first the birth of the child. And I always wonder, why was it that way? Why did he do it that way? And as I think about that, I think that probably for them, it was probably the greatest gift for them to be recognized by a king, a child king. And so that was a message to the world. That was a message that the gift that I bring you is going to be announced first to someone that you obviously mostly ignore, that you mostly don't trust, that most of you don't even like. Shepherds were just not up there in the class. So, we need to think about that. And then the other thing that I want you to think about is that because I don't want you to put the Christ child on the shelf and not think about him for another year, is because the only way that these gifts that come through the child will get into our world is as if you share them. You share them. So I want you to think tonight about how you will bring hope. How will you bring hope to your family? How will you bring hope to your friends? How will you bring hope to the people who need to hear hope? And I'm telling you, there's a lot of people, even here in London, that need to hear a little hope. There's a lot of people now that are unemployed, a lot of people that don't have homes to live in. They need to hear a message of hope. They need to hear a message of peace. And as I said earlier, I always love this night because I sit and I think in silence when I go home tonight, and I think everywhere in the world right now is peace. There's no one in conflict. And we know that that's probably going to change the very next day. But for now, we have peace. And it's a wonderful thing. And I want you to think about how can you bring peace? How can you bring peace in your family? How can you bring peace with your friends? And how can you bring peace in your community? It needs to happen. Joy. I talked to the children earlier this evening, and I talked about how they bring joy into our world. It's there's nothing. I got to tell you this. We got a call from our daughter this morning, and she said, "You won't believe it. At 7:30 this morning, our granddaughter, who's 4 years old, was rummaging through the refrigerator, counting out the carrots for the reindeer. And she got them all. She counted them all, made sure she had one for every reindeer." And I thought, that's the beauty of Christmas. Just the beauty. She was so excited. The first thing she did is she went down into the refrigerator and pulled up carrots. 1, 2, 3. They bring us joy. And we can bring them joy as well. And we need to think about that because, you know, sometimes we get down, sometimes we feel like, oh, gee, what's this world coming to? But as Christian people, Christ brought joy, and we need to spread that joy in the world, especially to the people who need to see that and hear that. People in the hospital, people who are in nursing homes, people who are alone. They need a sense of joy, and you can bring that. And of course, love. We're really encouraged, put it that way, to bring love and try unconditional love. Unconditional love is tough. Unconditional love is tough because it actually requires of us to forgive. We can't love unconditionally if we're not willing to forgive first ourselves and the people we need to share our love with. And that's where it's really nice to have family. To have that love. No matter what happens in your life and in your world, you can come home and know that you are loved. Sometimes you're not liked, but you're always loved. So, I'm not going to go on and on because I know you want to get home and open up your gifts. So, I just want to say, as you leave tonight, think about those 4 things and make sure that you share that in your world in the new year and as the year goes by. Don't put the Christ child on the shelf. Don't put the Christ child on the shelf and forget him. Bring him into your life and share those 4 gifts because right now the world really, really needs it. Let us pray.